Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the 5th edition Vampire the Masquerade tabletop role-playing rules by World of Darkness. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. Listeners should know that this podcast is intended for a mature audience and will include strong language and mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and so forth, that may bear resemblance to entities living, dead, or undead is strictly coincidental. My name is Rena Henze, and for tonight's game, I will be your storyteller. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Blood Moon Rising, the Old Ways Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle. Thank you for joining us in the dark this evening, and thank you especially to our Patreon backers and all of our wonderful listeners for keeping this show going and for all of the shenanigans that you allow us to continue exploring in San Francisco by night. So we have some fallout from last episode's events to get to, but first we need to do some introductions. So, to my right.
Hi, this is Mike. I'll be playing Marcus Voss from Clan Bruja, and I just got done choking a snake.
You did. You choked that snake good. And to Marcus's right.
Hi, I'm John. I'm playing Vince Markovich, and I've had a good run, right? Yeah.
Rest in pieces, Vince. Maybe. We'll see. You could still get out of this. Maybe. And at the end of the table.
Hi, this is Ali, and I play Katerina Bogdanovich, and let's just say I had a very productive meeting.
You did, and it was not one of those meetings that could have been an email, which is even better. And since we are in the, once again, missing Rom the Shaman formation, last but not least, we have...
This is Tiffany, and I play Alex Giovanni, and I looked scary.
I fail to see how that's different from normal, but true, you did perhaps go a little bit scarier than usual. All right, so in our last session, we left Vince in a very precarious position, so we're going to start off with Katerina. So, Katerina, you had a very interesting meeting with the prince. They seemed a lot more out of control than you've ever seen them. And they've given you some tasks to complete, in addition to a favor. So, you have been shown out of the theater, and you now have a couple hours left in your night to decide what to do.
Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is check my pager to see if I have any messages from Vince.
You do not.
Cool. Radio silence.
It's probably just there's no signal in the library. Probably that.
Okay, well, then I guess I'm going to go home and wait and pray that, not literally pray, but, hang out and see if Vince gets back to me before sunrise.
Okay. We'll see if that bears any fruit. But you go back home. You walk through the bakery. It's very quiet tonight, as it was when you left earlier. And Lucy is nowhere to be seen. She's taken some time off. She said she had a party to attend to with some of her other young, attractive Toreador friends. And Cora is sitting behind the desk in the office when you enter the bakery. She hears the bell. She pokes her head out. She looks very tired. And she says, interesting evening?
Too many interesting evenings.
Quite. I'm getting rather tired of them myself.
Yes.
And She smiles wearily. Everything's done for the night. Lucy should be back tomorrow. I left some notes for Ray Ray when he gets in the morning. She closes her eyes. Do you mind if I take a couple nights off, Katerina?
No, go ahead. I will finish up here for the evening shift and stay up to say hello to Rere. Go ahead and go home.
She nods. Honestly, I didn't sleep last night, and I don't know, I'm just very tired.
Why did
Probably
you not
just
sleep?
hungry. Don't know. I couldn't sleep. Didn't sleep well the previous few nights either, but last night I didn't sleep at all, and maybe I'm just hungry. But
Well, make sure to take care of yourself, yeah?
I'll do my best. She smiles wearily. And stop for a snack on the way home, I suppose.
Understood. Just no bodies and...
She chuckles slightly. Like the one I had to clean up for you?
Yes, well, was unfortunately necessary.
Yes, there seems to be a lot of that around these nights. She pulls her coat on and puts a very nice mid-century hat over her perfectly coiffed hair. Just make sure you eat so we don't have a repeat.
Yes.
I'm not sure we can take much more.
No. I will get in touch with our supplier, yeah, and make sure that there is a little bit more available for our night crew.
Not a bad idea, really. Oh, good night, Katerina.
Good night, Cora.
And you go upstairs through those rather creepy-looking doors. They still make you uncomfortable every time you have to touch them. Maybe you're starting to get a little bit used to it, maybe not, but you're going to have a chat with Frank at some point about these doors. So, you go in, you settle in for the few hours remaining of the night. What does Katerina do to wind down, if anything, or is she actively pacing tonight?
I'm doing some pacing, and I'm probably actually going to give a call to the farm because there needs to be a meeting.
So you call Margarita down at the farm, and she picks up, says, "Hello? Katerina? It is late. Why are you calling me?"
I am calling because there is something potentially wrong with the supply, and I need you to gather all of the workers, and we will be having a meeting tomorrow night. Attendance is mandatory. Anyone who does not attend, well, let's just say that their heads are going to be on a pike.
I'll provide the bike. And there's a chuckle. All right, I don't like the sound of there is something wrong, but we will figure it out, yes?
Yeah.
Tomorrow night.
First thing,
Should I stop bottling the product if there is something wrong, or...
yes. And for now, essentially consider the farm in quarantine mode. It is important.
This sounds serious. All right, well...
It is, and that's why the meeting is important.
Well, we will meet tomorrow night, and I'm sure everything will be fine.
Well, I guess we'll see, yeah?
Da. And there's a click as the phone hangs up. So you have now set up your meeting for the following night. Are you going to call any of your other coterie members? Are you just going to wait and see what happens with Vince? What is the plan here?
I think for right now, I'm going to be half waiting for my pager to make noise and half trying to determine if I should just go to bed. But what I'll do instead is I will give Vera a call.
Okay, so you call Vera, and Paula, as usual, answers the phone and says, good evening, Katerina.
Hello, Paula. Is Vera available to talk for a little while?
She is busy at the moment with a guest. You wish to speak to her without, she pauses for a moment. Without the interpreter, yes? Without me? Like last time, or?
If you are there, it wouldn't be a problem.
And you hear the phone being set down for a moment, and then she picks it up, says, do you wish to come over or just speak through the phone?
If she is available now, over the phone is fine. I have some business that I need to attend to first thing tomorrow night.
We have a visitor from the clan, and you understand with Vera's position, she cannot just leave.
No, I understand.
She would be happy to speak to you tomorrow night, whether you wish to come visit or speak on the phone.
Well, I will give you a call, yeah, and see if she is available. And if she is, I will stop by.
That would be best. Have a good evening, Katerina.
You too, Paula. Thank you.
And she hangs up. So you can sit around for the evening waiting for Vince to contact you until it is time to go to bed, and we will cut back to you later. We'll leave you alone in your now somewhat creepy apartment with doors that feel like they're watching you. So, at the Blue Orchid, we had a gangrel being stuffed into a trunk. Marcus had just received a phone call, and Marcus had promised Jean that he would be at the labyrinth shortly with a present for the prince. So, we will pick up with the two of you there. Are you heading straight to the labyrinth?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go to the labyrinth, and you can find the back parking lot. It's fairly empty and quiet on this side of town because it is about 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30. So most people, even those who are out partying, are either still in the bar partying or they've already gone home. So it's not too difficult to find parking at the theater itself. And you see Jean, the seneschal, is pacing up and down the sidewalk behind the theater. She's still wearing jeans and a t-shirt, but they look kind of like they've been slept in, right? They're kind of wrinkled, and her eyeliner is nowhere near as immaculate as it was the last time you saw her, and
Sure.
she looks harried.
All right.
Disgraceful. I don't say that, but I think it.
I will approach her.
She looks up with a start. Marcus. I thank you for coming. You said you know what's happening? And she looks over and sees Alex. Oh. You brought that one? Never mind.
I make a really ugly face. That one. Are we not all kindred?
You understand, Marcus, they were very disrespectful of the prince's position last time.
Mm-hmm. And they've been busy spending many nights bailing the prince out of their problems.
Mm-hmm.
So I would expect, with all due respect, that they get some respect.
She sighs and rubs her forehead and says, "You're right. I'm sorry. I spoke out of turn."
Don't apologize to me, apologize to them. I smile.
What did you bring?
A gift. A present. Evidence. We need a place to pull a vehicle in.
There's one moment. She pulls out her phone and her fingers fly over the keyboard. All right, we've got the parking garage just like right down the street. She points towards it. The valet in the evening is one of ours for special deliveries and things. You can pull in there, and there's an underground entrance to the labyrinth through the parking garage.
Wonderful. I look at Alex and say, do you want to have your driver make the appropriate change in direction? Gina and I can walk through and meet you at the entrance there for the car.
Okay. So I'll get in the car with the driver and direct him.
So you drive around to the parking garage, and the valet has been warned to expect you, so they just wave you in and gesture to a far back spot. There's no lights or anything in that area, and you can see the faint outline of a door. It's marked as if it's for electric maintenance, something silly like that, but he's pointing at it, which gives you an idea of where you're supposed to go.
The walk over with Jean, I will explain a few things to her. It appears that the source of our issue here in the city may be a resurgence in members of the Sabbat. I confirmed this working theory tonight when I stopped down with Alex to the Blue Orchid while we were chasing some of the other leads we had. And a member of Clan Gangrel outed themselves as a member of the Sabbat in front of me. Now, I am probably one of the worst people in this city you could do that to. That said, he was subdued, and given that he's confessed to being a member of the Sabbat and essentially staged a wholesale takeover of the Blue Orchid Club, with its organization being a little topsy-turvy currently, I would imagine that members of Clan Venture would be very interested to know what someone was doing with their club.
Her facial expressions cycle through a variety of horror, confusion, surprise. She just shakes her head slightly as if to clear away some confusion. He was bold enough to out himself in front of you?
Yes, I don't know if it's my reputation that preceded me, which is possible, but let me ask you a question. Have you been sleeping?
I had some bad dreams last night.
I was worried you might say that.
I know Luther had the dreams.
Mm-hmm. It's bad blood. It's infected blood.
Fuck. The prince hasn't mentioned anything about dreaming. I hope.
Yes, hopefully they are not also. But what you need to do is begin determining where your own sources are coming from and secure a clean supply. I don't know if it's something that can run its course or if it's something that can be purified. We are working on that as well. But to answer the prince's charge of what killed Luther Garibaldi, we have done that. Bad blood killed Luther Garibaldi, brought on by what we believe might be a Sabbat ritual.
Fuck. Those filthy motherfuckers. That explains a lot, though. She pulls out her phone again and she opens the photo app and shows you a picture. And there's this picture of the vampire you recognize as Claudio. And his shirt is pulled open and you see what looks like a handprint burned into his chest.
Have I seen this handprint before?
It looks kind of like the description Alex gave you of Rom's vision.
When was this taken?
Last night, when the prince discovered the treachery. The issue is he managed to get away before we could execute some justice, and hence the blood hunt.
And Esmeralda is leading the hunt, I would imagine.
Oh yes. But the word is about to go out to the whole city. the prince gave Esmeralda tonight, and Jean lowers her voice. She hasn't found him yet. And she's pissed. As you can imagine.
Yes, I can. An angry sheriff under the edict of a blood hunt, while the footsteps of a powerful venture approach the city is really not a position I would like to be in either.
She stops in the hallway and turns to look at you, and you can see these kind of dark circles under her eyes, and they remind you of Luther the last time you saw him when he came to you in the parking lot. That first hint of the dark circles under the eyes, and her eyes are burning intensely, and she just says, "You have to take him before Billy comes, Marcus. We can't have a rogue primogen, former primogen," she spits, "running around the city. I know he's still in the city. He hasn't left. I don't think he either hasn't been able to get out, or he's hoping to go to ground with his friends. But if you see him, Marcus, take him."
Do you know the damage killing other kindred does to the human spirit? To the kindred spirit?
I know.
Then you know what you ask.
She closes her eyes for a moment. "I was in the war too, Marcus. I know. But this happened under my very nose, Marcus. He tried to take down the prince in the prince's own household, and I didn't see it coming. And I would take it as a personal favor," she says the word very deliberately, "if you see him and take him down. And I am not asking this lightly."
I don't think I've ever known you to be so direct.
Desperate times, Marcus. Desperate times. And if
Very well.
whatever happened to Luther is happening to me, I don't know how much longer I have.
Then here is the agreement we will make this night in this hallway. Provided he is dealt with, provided the stain is alleviated from the city of his treachery.
She spits.
I probably flinch thinking about her being infected. Then this is what I will ask, so that you know the cost of it. You will instruct me in the ways of your clan's shadow disciplines, so that I may rouse my blood and utilize them. And should I decide in the future to increase my political holdings, I should suspect to have your confidence in that.
There's a long pause, and you can hear just beyond the hallway, there's some footsteps, so you assume Alex is nearby. And she says under her breath quickly, what he did is a stain on me, personally, as Seneschal. So I will accept your bargain.
Very well. Oh, the spitting, probably not a good idea for you right now. Okay, I will walk with her to the rest of the way to the door.
She looks a little less harried now. She just sort of has this stone cold resolve set to her body. But she still can't hide those shadows under her eyes. And she goes down to the end of the hallway, and she opens the door. And you can see Alex's vehicle parked next to this open door in a dark parking garage. And Alex is standing outside the car.
Okay.
And Jean looks at the two of you. Now what?
Go to the trunk.
Yeah, I tap the trunk for the driver to open the trunk.
The trunk opens, and Jean walks around to inspect whatever treasures you have brought for her. And you see both eyebrows go up, and she puts her hands on her hips. This motherfucker?
Yep.
You know him.
By reputation.
What, as a dealer?
Yes. The clan kicked him out, so to speak, for his unsavory dealings. He was drawing too much attention to the city gangrel, and they kicked him out. And we hadn't seen him in a while, and Luther assumed he'd left. Hadn't seen him for quite some time. And she pokes at him. Good job, Marcus. I assume it was you.
I would say it was a team effort.
She pulls up his eyelids to check his eyes and everything. This motherfucker is Sabat?
Well, apparently he found a new home after he was kicked out. Also, it's kind of funny that he took over a club for several days and nobody noticed.
We've been rather busy.
Well, that's how they get in.
There's only so much we can do. She looks very, very tired all of a sudden. Felix used to keep tabs on those things.
Yes, but he's been gone for a little while.
Yes, we'd rather hoped his child would handle it.
Well, that was naive.
Yes, well, we rather had the advent of Billy the Hammer to consider. We weren't exactly looking at every single vampire-run club in town.
Either way, we are delivering him.
She turns and pokes her head back in through the door and barks a command, and one of the bouncers who was guarding the entrance when the entire coterie came together for the first time comes out and looks in the trunk, looks at Jean, she nods, and he picks up Eli with one hand, throws him over his shoulder, none too gently. You just see Eli's gangly arms trailing down the guy's back as he carries him off into the labyrinth. We'll take care of this.
Good. We are going to continue our investigation.
I will inform the prince that you have successfully fulfilled the task that was laid upon you. And she looks at you specifically, Marcus, and says, I will have a specific word on your behalf. Just in case they're in a bad mood.
Well, I just would like the prince to know that we've, at the very least, to the letter of what they have asked, have completed the task they set before us.
She nods.
Yes, hopefully they will be a little less angry. I didn't just stand around and twiddle my thumbs and look pretty.
Jean smiles slightly. You've been most effective. I only hope it is not too late. That is not a slight on you, merely on events progressing as they are. And I trust if you find a way to purify, you will contact me immediately.
Certainly. We wouldn't want the continued infection to grow. I think we've seen that enough in recent years.
I would suggest with maybe some of, not you personally, but the many contacts about to see if, because I didn't look, Eli has any of the product on him and maybe start testing there. If there's anything that we can detect with mundane things, because maybe then you can reverse engineer it or something.
Yes, swear off any users
Yes.
feeding from.
Only clean.
She nods. It'll help me at this point, but I'll be personally checking everything the prince feeds from. Very well. And just fuck the bastards, she says, with a feral sort of smile as she turns around and moves back into the labyrinth.
Oh, and Jean, I have seen things that might point out at not just the Sabbat.
She turns, both her eyebrows rising towards her hairline. Jesus Christ. What else?
It's the Sabbat, but it's also the hand. You know, the black kind.
Fuck. That gives me something to work with. But that also means we don't know who to trust at all. Because they can be any clan. Any of
Or
them.
they could have swayed anyone.
Like I'm certain they did with Claudio. Bastard. Very well. I will let no one near our prince, other than myself and Esmeralda, until this is resolved. And perhaps not even me, after a point. And she bares her fangs slightly.
May want to find somebody who you can trust to take up some of your easier tasks.
She gives you a very thin smile. The thought had occurred to me, yes. Let it be clear. My loyalty is to the prince, and only to the prince. And I will do whatever I need to do to ensure their safety. And she shakes her head slightly and says, let me know if there is any assistance I can provide you. In the meantime, I have some house cleaning to attend to.
Fair enough.
And she heads back into the labyrinth, and the door slams shut.
I turn to Alex. Well, that was useful at least.
I appreciate your backup. Not just in the club, but with them. As I gesture to the door into the labyrinth.
Well, if we're going to have a productive society, certain lines need to be erased, and perhaps a bit more respect needs to be given.
Do the two of you have anything else you wish to do for the few remaining waning nighttime hours?
I need to go back to the office.
I will Venmo Eddie Maxine's payment, since he'll just get all of it now, for right now. And then check in with the bartender at the Blue Orchid just to make sure he's okay. And then I have to hurry get home so I can, because I'm going to have to wash up and then put fresh jammies on and make sure my pillows are fluffed.
You have your daytime ritual before you go to bed. So we will leave you, Alex, heading off to bed after checking in on Eddie, and with Marcus heading to the union office. Vince, you are in the library basement of a very dangerous woman, and the last thing she said to you was asking you why she shouldn't just take every last drop of your blood right now.
Yeah, she did say that.
So how does Vince reply to that?
Well, Vince pauses, and he looks down and looks back up at her, and he's like, well, I can think of several reasons why you shouldn't, one of which is that we do have this Sabat problem. Now, I only found this when I was tasked by a person of very high office within the camera. It's like, look, somebody higher up the chain than you told me to find this stuff out. You said no one would come looking for me, but they would. They might not be surprised that I went missing, but they would have to come look for me.
She stares at you, her cold, dead blue eyes. Give me persuasion plus charisma. You're gonna need 3 successes here.
I would like to spend a point of willpower.
Probably a good idea.
And to spend my point of willpower, Vince will smile.
Try and be as naive and charming as possible. So, she continues to stare at you, Vince, and she narrows her eyes slightly. She says, all right, but you owe me. And I mean you. Not your friend. Not the prince. You. And you're not going to like it when I come calling. But you're going to answer anyway.
I've just been threatened to be diablerized. This is the best possible outcome for this scenario. I will honor my debt.
And by the way, Vincent, if you say anything at all to anyone about, let's say, my personal history, we're going to have words, and you're not going to enjoy them.
He just nods.
And she scribbles something down on a piece of paper, and she hands it to you, and she says, "This is the ritual I found. It is likely to be the only thing that could help you, but I don't really think you have the stomach for it. Good luck." And she grabs you by the wrist, and she drags you up the stairs.
After like a quick, Vince is just like, okay, yeah, fine. I just want to get out of here.
So you have a sheaf of paper in one hand that has some notes that look like a ritual on it. And you hold on very tightly to them as this tall, imposing blonde vampire pulls you up the stairs and deposits you in the hallway. She calls out something in French, and the maid comes back in, this time holding a vacuum cleaner. Literally holding it. She's holding it up in the air. And she looks at you and says, "Time to go."
Vince just nods. It's like, I'm happy to leave.
"I don't think you come back.
I hope not.
Hurry up, I have to sweep up after you. You're making a mess."
Goddamn Nazi vamp. He's just gonna leave, just walk out the front door.
You hear, "What did you say, motherfucker?"
And he just swings the door closed behind him.
Excellent. So it's getting pretty close to dawn for you, Vince. So you're probably, your best bet is probably at this point to go home and retire for the morning. You're not going to have much chance to study this ritual tonight.
Yeah. Before I get home, I will send Katerina a pager message explaining I am still alive. BT dubs. I might be in trouble.
So you get that message, Katerina, just as you're getting ready to retire for the morning. And Vince is around, but he thinks he's in trouble. Because of course he is. Marcus, you get back to the union office. And you see there's still some crime scene tape up. And there's a cop standing there looking like he's supposed to be looking after the crime scene, but it looks like the journalists and the other few lookers on have dispersed by this point. It's been a couple hours. And as you park and walk up in this direction, the cop holds up a hand and says, "Crime scene.
Place of business.
Can I see some ID, sir?"
Sure. I go to my wallet and take out my ID. I open my wallet, the top half of which shows a driver's license, which is mocked up for the proper look of the current day. And then the bottom half, which shows my union identification card.
And he takes a look at it. He looks at you. Did you see anything happen here?
No, I've been gone all night. What happened?
Someone saw whoever this was, some kid, get abducted. We had a couple, he points across the street, a couple homeless guys over there. Said they saw a bit of a tussle. And they went and made a fuss to someone else walking down the street, a respectable citizen. And they called us because they saw a fight happening. By the time we got here, there was blood and no kid.
I got a call from one of the office workers here. I'm a union lead. I heard that I kind of lean in a little bit. Might be a union worker that's missing.
And he scratches his chin a little bit. And I'd like you to give me a roll here because you think he looks like he's about to say something and trying to decide if he's actually going to.
Sure.
So I'd like you to give me persuasion and manipulation to see if you can convince him to tell you what's on his mind.
Not a huge dice pool, but I have 2.
Okay. So what do you say to him to get him to talk to you?
I say, listen, I'm sure you don't want to be here any longer than you need to, but if he's one of our guys, we want to find him as soon as we can. So anything you know, I can put into the ears of people who will be all over any place he would normally go. Bars, restaurants, job sites, the docks, etc. You help me, we can press a message way farther.
He nods. He uncrosses his arms. Okay, between you and me, this kid, his parents are important. His daddy runs a bank. This kid is the prodigal son. Went off to make his own way in the world instead of relying on daddy's money. Or so he says. This is what I hear. So it is in our interest to find him before something unpleasant happens.
Like a ransom.
Or worse. His father has been up the commissioner's ass all night, considering, I assume you've heard about the werewolf of San Francisco, as apparently they're calling this serial killer.
I heard it was Bat Boy or something, right?
Man, I don't know. All I know is people are turning up with their insides ripped out, and someone started calling whoever it was a werewolf because it looked like some animal. And so Jimmy here's parents are causing a fuss, and now we're all on mandatory overtime.
Well, listen, I'm going to have people here all night and into the morning. So we don't need a police stakeout here, that's for sure.
Yeah, and what are you going to do if the commissioner gets a call from this kid's parents saying, why wasn't there someone at the crime scene? Worth way more than my job is worth, let me tell you that.
You guys collectively bargain, right? I raise an eyebrow. Well, do what you got to do. I'm just going to go inside. I'll avoid anything. If you know where there's a clear path, I don't want to get in the way of any investigation. But I'll put the word out between the internal ears here and see if we can run this kid to ground a little bit faster.
Appreciate it. He smiles for the first time since he started this conversation.
Guy's probably tired. Okay. Yeah, I'll make my way inside afterwards, just being careful about where the ticker tape parade is. And how much blood does it look like? Does it look like a lot of blood? A little blood? Like, how much do I see out there?
Yeah, it doesn't look like a whole lot. It's certainly not like with the corpses that you've seen
Right.
over the past couple nights. It looks more like maybe there was a head wound and a spot of blood, or just a small injury, but it's enough blood to be noticeable, not enough to be this guy was exsanguinated.
All right, yeah, I probably just blackjacked him or something like that in the back of the head and ran him off into a car. Wouldn't be the first time or last time it's probably happened in front of a building down here in the docks area.
It certainly would not.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it is getting late, so I'll go in and try to touch base with Marie and then be prepared to head to bed soon after.
So Marie's a lot calmer than she was on the phone. She's had time to compose herself, and she's also been busy, and she's at her best when she's busy and doesn't have to think about everything else. So she hands you a folder and says, I got some of that info from Jimmy's lead. And they gave me everything they got on him. So if you want to look over that.
I do. I try to I take a moment with her and I take the files from her and I try to steady her, put a hand on top of hers and say, listen, it's going to be okay. You're going to see what union means here in a second.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry for freaking out earlier. Just, I sent everyone home as soon as the press dispersed, and I guess some rich kid or something, because there were a lot of people out there, a lot more than you'd expect for a union member going missing. But
evidently his parents own a very large bank.
Oh.
So what I need you to do, if you haven't already, is get into his file and trace that down. The second thing that's going to need to happen is we need to broadcast an all call to all union members. His picture, his name, and we need to run him to ground as soon as possible before the police can get a hold of him. Not that he's in any trouble, but it might look real good for us with the police
Right.
if we find him before they do.
Right. You got it. I'll start doing that right away. And she sits down at her desk and starts pulling up some things on her 3 screens. And I'm going to get Greg on some of this, if you don't mind. I know he's been a bit weird, but he's really the best I've got for some of this tech stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm going to be upstairs in my office, and I'll probably be there for a while. Once you get the message out, and once you get Greg purposed where he needs to be, remember that you need sleep as well. There's in the loft upstairs in the office area. If you need to crash here, you're welcome to. We're one big happy family anyway.
She yawns, slightly covers it up, says, "Yep, you got it. Okay, I'm on it. I'm going to call Greg. He went out for pizza, but he should be back soon. He said he was hungry, and apparently the donuts in the break room were not enough for him, so he went out to get pizza. But he should be back in about 15 minutes." She checks her watch.
Okay.
Right. And so you can spend the last remaining night hours, not many of them, but a bit, going over paperwork, looking at the file, and then you will have to retire as the sun begins to peek over the horizon. So we are raising the curtain on a brand new night in San Francisco as our coterie begins to stir from their slumbers. So I would like a rouse check from everyone.
A success for Vince.
Yes, that is a success for Marcus as well.
Success.
And Alex?
A 7 is a success, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So Vince and Katerina, your hunger only increases by 1. Marcus, you're fine. Alex, you dreamed last night.
What? Some bullshit.
Well, it may or may not have something to do with the fact that you ate an infected person.
Oh, yeah. Shit.
You dreamed last night, Alex, and it was as horrific as you were expecting based on what you've heard from Trevor and from Vince, and also your vision with Luther. It leaves you feeling very unsettled and very uncomfortable, and like you didn't quite rest enough when you awake, and you're going to take 1 point of hunger.
I have to go eat.
You are not going to be able to go below 1 point of hunger until the condition is resolved. So you will always be at a minimum of 1.
Well, I'm at 3, so I have to go eat.
Yes, so you're feeling very
I
hungry.
visited Eddie, so do I still have something in the fridge?
You didn't visit him last night. Oh wait, you
Oh,
did,
that's
but
right.
you didn't take a donation that
Right.
time. You were just asking him about Maxine.
Mhm.
So you didn't take a donation from him, and then you didn't go by again. You just called him.
Right.
So yes, so you
Okay.
are hungry. Very hungry.
Well, that's my first stop.
Okay. So Alex is going out on the prowl. Vince and Katerina, what are your hunger levels at right now?
Vince is at 2.
I am also at 2.
All right. So the two of you, as you wake up, are starting to feel a little growling, perhaps. You're feeling a little crankier than usual when you wake up. And the dreaming is already fading a little bit from your minds as you wake up, but you could still kind of grasp at some of the shadows and the screaming and that rich smell of blood that fills your subconscious mind when you try to sleep. Marcus, you're fine. You wake up, It's a good night. You slept well. All good.
Is Marie still here? Did she pass out?
Marie did, in fact, pass out here.
Good.
So let's start this evening's events with Marcus as you wake up. And you have a message on your phone, Marcus. And it is John Wick style announcing open season on one Claudio Ricci to the vampire population at large.
Yeah, I knew about it for a night or two, maybe? I assumed two, but confirmed with one.
Yes.
I do the right thing, or the clan thing, and probably place a call to Esmeralda.
Okay. You poke your head out the door. You see Marie passed out on a couch. Her glasses sliding down her nose, but she appears to still be asleep for the moment. So you can close the door and make your call. And it rings for a moment, and then you hear Esmeralda's brusque, "What?"
It seems there's a matter of business to attend to in this city, yes?
Yes. Should have found him by now. Motherfucker. Tear him limb from limb.
I want to let you know that I stand with my clanmates should you need our assistance.
Figured you would. Last I heard, I'm heading down towards the pier. He was seen down there, supposedly. Of course, I've been chasing these rumors of where he's been seen for 2 nights now. He can't hide forever, Marcus. I'm gonna find him. I've always wanted to take down that trotty little Toreador.
Just be careful, they're fast.
Fast only takes you so far.
Fair enough. Then perhaps I'll take a stroll behind my section of the pier and keep my eyes out.
You do that.
I'll hang out with Esmeralda.
Yeah.
Not much of a conversationalist.
Not really, no. You hang up, and you just a split second after you hear her angrily hang up on the other end, you hear her growling something about stupid Toreadors. And you are now free for the evening, having spoken with your sheriff. So, what would you like to do?
Well, I suppose my night will begin with one Vince Markovich.
Oh my. Are you going to visit him? Are you calling him?
Oh no, I'm going to visit him.
Okay, so Vince, unbeknownst to you, you're about to have a visitor. But first, what do you do when you wake up and you're feeling a little bit hungrier than you were when you went to bed? And you have a stack of notes and a very unsettling encounter to remember.
I go to my fridge to see if I have any blood left.
Give me a luck roll. Just give me a single d10. Marcus, are you going to let Vince know you're coming, or are you just showing up?
Oh, actually, I'm just going to show up, but as a matter of goodwill, there are 2 bottles that I took from Queenie's house that I'm going to be bringing with.
Excellent.
Oh, good, because I rolled a 3.
Yes, so Vince, you go check your fridge and you don't have anything left. You realize it's been a few days since you've been to work, so you haven't really been able to replenish your stock. And the one time you've eaten a human that you try not to think about, you drained her dry, so you didn't have anything left there either. So there's nothing in your fridge.
Yeah, he bites his tongue with his molars, and he's just like, "Huh. I sworn I had some left." Well, and he goes back into the library, picks up the book, and is just like, "So let's pick something from the middle today." And he's just sitting there reading, and he just gets into it a little bit. And then he looks at the pile of notes. I suppose I have to deal with this at some point. He's like, "Mina, can I tell you about something?" You have to tell no one.
The pen and paper starts moving on the desk, and it says, "Who I tell?" ? And then the pen hits you on the head, lovingly.
Oh. Thanks, Auntie. So, I don't know if you know what a Nazi is. They were after your time.
And then the pen moves back to the paper and scratches out evil motherfuckers.
It's like, oh, good. Yeah, no, I think one of them has my number, so.
Punch Nazis. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
And Vince looks down at his dweeby arms and he's like, well, maybe I can get a friend to do it. But yeah, so I got notes about Karen's experiment from said Nazi, and I'm a bit scared to read it because, and he like puts his hands together and he's just like, because this is stuff dreamt up by a mad scientist. Like, some of this is going to be crazy, right? Like, I read her notebook. This woman she's among monsters, she's a monster.
And the paper moves around and the pen scratches on it and says, fuck her. Not in fun way.
Thanks for clarifying. Yeah, I just...
Read notes? Question mark.
Not yet. I'm kind of scared too. Kind of scared.
Ask. Nice one with good hair. Creepy smile.
That describes an awful lot of vampires. You mean Alex, right?
The cute one.
So Katerina. Oh no, wait. Yeah, no. Alex is super cute. You know what? Yes, I'll have to bring it up with the coterie anyway. No, I just needed someone to talk to, Mina. It's been a crazy while.
A bit of a breeze ruffles your hair. And at that moment, a car pulls up outside your bungalow.
He opens the door wearing his longshoreman union t-shirt that he was given. He opens the door and he just stands there looking out. Oh, I know who that is. I recognize that face.
Yeah, I'll walk up to apartment, house, bungalow. Fantastic. Yes. How old is this bungalow, would you figure?
Well, it's pretty old. I don't know exactly.
You'd say, based on looking at it, Marcus, it's probably 1910s, 1920s. It looks like it's been renovated since then, but it's definitely an older building.
Well, good evening, Vince.
Good evening, Marcus. Won't you come in? He's like, I'll have to introduce you to Mina, but that'll be...
I have two very large bottles in my hand.
And Vince is looking at them. And he's just like he's just the eyes emoji. Please come in. As I said, I'll have to introduce you to Mina. It's technically her house. I thought property ended when you died, but what do I know?
That merely depends on who died.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, no. Anyway, come in. You don't have to take off your shoes or anything. I just hadn't put any on yet. Mina, this is Marcus Voss. He's also a vampire. He works with the union, actually. He's a very nice man.
I look around, in the bungalow. What's it look like in here?
Some of the furniture's a bit old. Nothing is modern. It's all a bit...
So you don't have a couch, you have a Davenport. You have crocheted blankets. Maybe there's a chair over there that might be covered in plastic or dust.
There's a lot of floral prints, Mike.
Well, I just wanted to congratulate you.
On what exactly? Give me a second, I'll get some glasses. And he just wanders off to the kitchen.
I call out through the house. Oh, no, you're probably going to want to drink this straight from the bottle anyway.
He comes back with 2 glasses, and he's just like, look, if all I've got's left is my manners, that's... He just trails off, and he's like, Marcus, I really fucked up.
Manners are never a bad thing to have. That said, though, I do wonder if some vampires here in the city have managed to take advantage of you a little bit. I do wonder that. I do worry about that, but I also know that you're your own person and you can make your own decisions. I rescued these 2 bottles from your sire's home before it was cleansed. I thought it would be a nice goodwill offering of a sort, as we've secured, for all intents and purposes, we have finished our job for the prince. We have found what is at the heart of the issue. It's infected blood. We know it's infected blood. Now, finding a cure is going to be paramount. But put simply, they asked us to find out what happened to Luther Garibaldi.
That was the original request.
And we have.
Yeah.
And so I hand you a bottle.
Come on, we go into the library. There's a desk. It's got 2 chairs. As you walk into the library, it's like just lined with books, and there's actually a standing shelf in the middle. But there's a desk with 2 chairs and a coffin. Just
How quaint. A coffin. Do you sleep in it?
yes. One of my sire's little jokes. So in addition to telling me all other vampires would kill me, which turns out not entirely true, but I think as I said, I'm in some real trouble. She did tell me that we all had to sleep in coffins.
Yes, and we're all terribly allergic to garlic. And none of us cast reflections. But I think if she hadn't told you everything, perhaps I can help you with one thing that you probably already know. All vampires are predators. And it doesn't matter whether it's a physical or a social situation. All vampires that survive long enough end up being predators in some regard. And so I want you to understand too that I'm not masking being a predator. I am a predator. I simply come with gifts.
That's very refreshing. And he's just like opening one of the bottles, pouring it out, and he's just like, well, here's to being open about what we are.
Not too open now. But the reason for my visit is to put a direct point on it is I need to know if you've had any opportunities to find something to reverse what's going on. Because I think that if we act quickly, you might have a very important opportunity to put several very important vampires in your good graces, owing you rather than you owing them. And there's nothing like a young upstart vampire who gets one over on several older vampires to put a smile on my face. And I'd like to help you do that. For my own ends, of course. But
Of course, I'm sure it would just be a huge coincidence if most of the vampires I happened to irk were vampires that had crossed you at some point.
you know, I don't have a ton of vampiric enemies, to be honest. I've worked very hard to not create a ton of enemies.
I appreciate that. I seem to just wander into them, but I am a little naive. So these notes, and he just points to the ones on the desk, they might have what we need. I'm kind of scared to read them, because then I'll know what I need to do to save, 1, myself, but 2, other vampires. And he just looks at you over the glass. He's like, I'm just realizing how many of us seem to take joy in being, as you said, predators, rather than viewing it as necessity to keep on living, that they seem to embrace it a bit too much.
I don't disagree. Just because you're a predator doesn't mean you have to be a destructive one. It's a strange message probably coming from a Brujah, but there was a time, Vince, when some say that kindred and kind were able to work in a symbiotic way, a way that transcends the current viewpoint. Tell me, in all the stories that you've heard about, has anyone ever told you about Carthage and what it means?
I remember from Sunday school when I was a kid, but
Yes, in many, many centuries ago, we existed, kindred and kind existed in the city of Carthage in the open, in a symbiotic relationship, one that saw many great potentials, advancements in sciences, in the understanding of medicine, and in the ability to not affect society in a negative way. There are many things that vampires can do for humans, and there are things that vice versa they can do for us. There was a symbiotic and wonderful relationship at one point, but it became poisoned. And when it was poisoned, Clan Ventrue came to Carthage from Rome, and they destroyed Carthage. So you see, Billy the Hammer showing up is not unlike that in some parallel. While this is no Carthage, San Francisco has a beautiful opportunity to blossom into something that it is not. And that might take changes, sometimes unfortunate changes, but they're changes nonetheless.
This puts down the now empty glass of blood, such as some kind of, I don't know, religious movement that would reveal vampires to the humans, and then other vampires that would swoop in and save them, and maybe angle it so that, hey, we haven't been killing you this whole time. We've just been on the edges. We don't kill when we feed.
Right.
Marcus, I grew up in a not great neighborhood. I've seen how drug dealers operate. I'm kind of familiar with the playbook. And he's like, and you're right, people have been taking advantage of me. But look at it from my side, I haven't had a lot of leverage. I've kind of only been able to get by on luck and a bit of smarts. I don't have much power, if any.
That's why you need to read these notes, Vince. Your leverage is sitting right there on parchment paper. You might fear the truth, the reality of what you might have to do to leverage that power. But the one thing that you'll be able to do afterwards is have one up on a ton of people that would love to do nothing more than have one up on you. And it's a distasteful portion of kindred society, but you will either be a tool or you'll be the hand that uses it. I want you to be the hand, not the tool.
And with that, we'll turn the camera over for the moment to Katerina, as Marcus and Vince are having a deep conversation. Katerina had some business to attend to this evening. So, are you pausing to feed before you go to your meeting, Katerina, or are you going straight to the meeting?
I'm going straight to the meeting.
Okay.
Because I don't know if my blood supply is compromised in my own house.
Right. Probably a wise precaution. So you go out to the farm, and again, it's quiet out here. The other vampires who are part of the work, who do their best to keep people out, are just lounging around, sitting on park benches. One of them is doing their best interpretation of being drunk and staggering around on the street outside. You see actually a couple kine cross to the other side of the street, as they do, to stay away from this display. It's pretty effective. And so as you go in, these other vampires follow you into the building to attend the meeting. And so you go in, you go to the back area of this warehouse where Margarita has set up the nice, well-appointed recovery rooms, quote unquote, for the users who are brought in and their blood is cycled through. And Margarita's standing there waiting for you, hands on her hips, looking a little worried. Yes? We are all here?
Is there anyone missing?
She consults a clipboard. We have not seen Ulrich for a couple days.
How many days exactly?
She flips the page. He did not sign in for his shift 3 nights. And he is not answering the phone.
Understood. Anyone else?
No, just Ulrich.
Okay. So,
She walks down the hallway with you towards the staff room, where all the others are waiting. You've got the couple vampires who are outside are now following you down the hallway as well. I have not been making the blood, the bottles, since last night, since you told me not to. All of the products are sleeping. I thought it would be better.
Good.
And she opens the door to the staff room, and there's a lot of chairs that have been pulled in hastily from other rooms so that everyone has a place to sit. And the vampire watchers behind you slip in and take seats as well. So with Margarita, there's 11 people here, 12 counting yourself. There should be 13, but Ulrich is not here.
All right, everyone. We have a very serious situation on our hands. Is there anyone here who has had trouble sleeping in the last 3 weeks?
Every single one of them, including Margarita, put their hands up.
All right. So, there is a problem with the supply. Many of the kind have been infected with something. We do not know what. For the moment, every single human will be disposed of. We will start from scratch. Then this issue has been resolved.
There's a lot of murmuring and muttering. They're all looking at each other a little confused and maybe a little scared, especially the younger vampires. And you hear a few of them saying, "So you had dreams too?" "Yeah, I didn't know you were having. I thought it was just me." And you just hear all this muttering back and forth. And Margarita stands up and glares at everyone until the room goes quiet again. Because, of course, we can dispose of the product. We don't want the bad batch, but are you sure it's with us?
Is with, is more spread out than just our operation.
She looks very upset. Like, how do this happen? I have the special ones I bring in. I clean their blood myself with the machines. I do all the things, and I have been doing this for many years, and it is not my fault. It is. And she looks like she's getting really worked up.
Well, for right now, everyone is confined to the facility. No one is to leave. No one is to associate with anyone outside. All electronic devices, no matter what it is, I will be taking. And in the next half hour, I need a list from every single person in this room for every person and every clan that you have interacted with in the last 3 weeks. Am I clear?
There's some murmurs of annoyance and discontent throughout the room, but no one dares to actually say anything to you.
I know this is a lot to ask, but I need everyone here to cooperate because there is the potential that everyone's life is on the line. If anyone fails in this task while I am here, you will be disposed of. Am I clear?
There is an audible silence.
Go.
And they all hurriedly get up and start pulling phones and pagers and things out of their pockets and dropping them on the table. And Margarita is standing there with her arms crossed. And a couple times she stops one of the workers and she glares at them and becomes a bit more physically intimidating. And they'll hurriedly reach into a pocket inside a coat and pull out another phone or a Kindle and drop it on the table before scurrying out.
You too, Margarita.
Yes. And she starts muttering something to herself. Fine.
Would you like to repeat that?
Don't like all the... It is like being back in Hungary.
I do not like this any more than you do. This is... well, is going to set us back significantly, yeah? But better safe than, well, everyone dying, yeah?
She sighs, she nods and takes her phone out, puts it on the table. She also takes out an iPad and a couple other things. I don't like. I have good time here. It is. We do good things for people like us, and
yes.
we take good care of the product. And now we have to go and She just shakes her head. I know we have to do it, but what? Do you want me to do it or do you want to come help?
I will come help. Actually, I will take care of it myself. I need that list from you.
Okay. She points towards the fridge with her thumb. We have the... Somehow I did not know we would need this, but we have the extra of the thing that makes them sleep. She doesn't like to say the word out loud. You just, to put in the IV, yes? And they'll go to sleep, and then we will, I suppose, burn them.
Yes, that will be the easiest thing. The underground room where we've had to burn them before.
Yes, she pauses. The prince has orders from us.
What are those orders?
The food, we bring the food. The special vintage. You might want to tell the prince not to eat.
Yes, that is concerning.
She nods. And she goes and sits in a corner, pulls out her clipboard and starts writing some things on paper since she's left her electronics with you. And there's a locker that you can put them all in if you want to lock them up, or you can take them with you.
I will grab just some kind of bag and sweep everything into it. They're all coming with me.
All right, so you now have a canvas tote bag full of electronics. The bag appears to be from Trader Joe's. And it's just a stack of canvas bags that people use for various things because we're not using any single-use plastics in this farm. So you take the bag full of electronics and go over to the fridge, and there is quite a decent amount of a very, very powerful opioid. And you have your injection kit that you've used to help with the recovery for some of these humans, some of the product. And so you can leave Margarita here in the room working on her list as you take the bag of electronics, and you also take this very strong opioid with you, and you can go down the hallway. It's very quiet. You hear the occasional murmuring from other kindred in their break rooms and wherever they're sitting and making out their lists. But it is quiet enough that you can hear your own footsteps as you move down into the back room. The first room where the product is kept. You have multiple rooms down this hallway. They all look fairly the same. You have 6 beds in each one with a kine laying in bed, hooked up to an IV. And they're all asleep, as Margarita promised. You can see the vitals being monitored, heart rate, breathing, all those things. Some of the kine look very gaunt still early in the recovery process. Some of them look more healthy. They've been here longer. And you've been here fairly frequently recently, and you know some of these faces because you've come and inspected them, talked to them, had some of their vintage while you were visiting with Margarita. And you take out your needle kit and you fill up the syringe with a lethal dose of this opioid, and you plunge it into the first one's arm, and the body shakes just a little bit, and then the heart rate speeds up, and you hear the beeping escalate just for a moment before it flatlines, and the body goes still. And you repeat this process over and over and over room after room after room, the beeping subsiding into this flat line sound of death in your ears as you move down the hallway until there's not a living soul left in this building. And Katerina, you're going to lose a point of humanity for this. As you slowly, methodically take the lives of over 50 mortals, one after the other. So let's have a look at what Alex was doing this evening while all of this is going on.
Nothing nearly as exciting. Yeah, my first stop is going to be at Eddie's, pick up everything he has, and then head over to Vera's because I have an appointment.
Eddie is sitting at his desk holding the large orange cat from Maxine's apartment, and the cat is nuzzling his face, and he is just sort of holding it tightly as you come in, and he's like, I shouldn't have looked in. I shouldn't have looked in.
I told you.
I couldn't resist. I had to see. Oh God. And he just holds the cat tighter until it kind of squawks and jumps out of his arms.
I told you to wait until it was cleaned out.
I was worried about the cat.
I understand.
He just nods and stares silently at his computer as you take the 2 bags of blood that he's left in the fridge for you.
And you are still doing well?
Yeah. I mean, I don't do drugs, like I said, like she did. I mean, and after seeing that, I can tell you I'm not even going near weed ever again.
Yes, there has been a poison unleashed.
He shudders. Work on anything else tonight, or can I just... I'm a bit...
No.
Not operating at my best.
That is completely understandable, and I would suggest that you take the evening off.
He nods vigorously. I'm gonna go get stuff for the cat. I guess she's mine now. I don't have a litter box. And he just sort of stares off into the distance for a moment. Yeah.
Do you need some more money?
Pets supply funding would be great. I don't even know how much a cat costs anymore.
I do not either. Do you think $100 a week will work?
Probably.
Okay.
And he's pulled out his phone. He looks to be making a list on the Notes app of things he needs to pick up for the cat as you Venmo him and then leave the apartment to go to Vera's. So your driver takes you to Vera's home. It is a nice, small, mid-century building, single-family home, so to speak. Very well manicured, the lawn, definitely landscaped. And you press the buzzer at the gate, and it only takes a few seconds before the front door opens and the gate buzzes so that you can open it.
I will enter.
Right, so you go into the house. Paula waves at you as you come in, and Vera pokes her head out from what you presume is the parlor or the sitting room, and she smiles and signs welcome at you.
Hello, long time no see.
She laughs and signs something that Paula interprets as, "What is time to us?"
Well, for some of us, it's growing short.
We have time. What can I do for you, Alex?
So, I came to speak about the visitor you were supposed to have.
Grandmother, yes?
Yes. Oh, and also a family business, too.
She opens the door wider to the sitting room, says, is Paula able to sit with us, or would you prefer one-on-one?
That is really your call. I am not going to impose any more rules than somebody else has.
She smiles broadly at that. And she and Paula both go into the sitting room, and she offers you a chair, a nice, comfortable chair.
I will take a seat.
So you take a seat, and Vera is sitting very properly, as a lady does, with perfectly straight. And Paula is sitting next to her, slightly angled, so that she can see both of you, and so that she can watch Vera's hands. And Vera's looking just at you and reading your lips as she starts signing at you. And Paula says, so which would you like to start with, family business or grandmother?
Either, I mean, it's going to be an even exchange of information, I think. The information I carry is heavy and life or death.
Oh. You don't even need Paula to translate that for you. Vera's eyes just get a little bigger. And she looks at Paula and signs something at Paula instead of at you, and Paula signs back to her, and then looks at you and says, seems we are having a lot of that these nights. Very well. Let's start with the family business then.
Okay, well, that was mostly to, well, basically I'm going to give this information to you because you are family. And I don't want to see anything happen to you. You have to make sure that all of your resources are clean. No drugs, no anything. That is what is, I'm pretty sure, actually I'm like 99% sure that is what is poisoning the other kindred. Also, the Black Hand is in town.
Vera's watching your lips very intently, and she smiles slightly when you refer to not wanting to see anything happen to her. And then when you start talking about her blood source, her body language changes, and she starts getting a little tense, perhaps. And she signs something to Paula, but before Paula can interpret it, you mention the hand. And Vera actually pulls back away from you, as if in shock. She breaks composure for the moment, which is rare for her. And she rapidly signs at you and says, Are you sure?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I have a friend who had a vision, and it was clear as day. And we already knew that we had a good inkling. Now I have proof that has been delivered that the Sabbat is in town. Now we know that it's even worse. They want to take the city.
Vera starts shaking her head back and forth as if denying reality. No. Like she's mouthing the words. And Paula looks concerned and just puts a hand on Vera's shoulder to calm her down for a moment. And she looks at you and she says, with the blood, we have a herd, a special herd. And sometimes from specialty places for parties and things. But you must understand, Alex, Miss Giovanni was a target in the war. I don't know if you were here during the war, but she is older. An older vampire, yes, and she survived 3 Black Hand attempts in the war. And Vera is watching Paula's lips very intently, and you can see her hands in her lap. She's squeezing her hands so tightly that it almost looks like she could break her knuckles. And Paula just comfortingly pats her hand and says, "This is bad news."
I understand, and that is why I wanted to know about grandmother, because I believe that your clan, and I say that like because I hate it because she's not a part of my clan, may have a way to stop the dreams and stop what is happening. Because even careful people are being poisoned.
Vera nods and she says, Grandmother is old. Not the oldest. You know, those are mostly asleep or have gone to follow the beckoning, but she is still very old. And I don't know why she's in town, but now I am worried. Do you know of Grandmother?
I don't believe so. I'm sorry, I don't keep up with the politics on that side. That's a little too deep for me.
We call her Grandmother because that is her function. She is what you might call in the old country a wise woman. Before she was embraced, she was, well, in the village they called her a witch. But she was always the neutral one in our clan. What do the mortals say? Switzerland. Yes? You go to Grandmother when you are having trouble, or when you just have a bad time, or when you need to get away and not worry about other kindred. And she never engaged in all of the politics, as you would call it. She is a safe place as herself, and she was asleep for years. She went to sleep before the war, and now she is awake, and she is in San Francisco, and she will not tell me why.
Oh, she is not telling
She
you?
said that she has to be here.
Has she said who she wants to speak to?
Well, she was waiting for an audience with our prince, but the prince has been a little hard to get a hold of late. But I sat with her last night, which is why I could not speak to you, and it was troubling.
Okay. She has visions, correct?
Yes.
She needs to speak to Ram. He had a vision that put a lot of things into place and put things into motion.
Vera nods.
That helped us connect the dots.
She said she had to speak to an oracle in town. Maybe it is your shaman.
I can go collect him and then come back if she would like to speak.
Vera nods, and Paula hands her a cell phone, and she starts typing something into it. I have messaged her aide-de-camp, is what she calls them. Grandmother does not use technology at all. So I think we can arrange this. She needs to speak to the oracle, and if your Malkavian is the oracle, then that is what we should do.
Okay. I don't think you're going to get any word in with the prince. The prince is not feeling well.
Oh. And Vera's eyes get a little bit wider. You didn't think it was possible because they were already almost popping out of her skull. This is Paula. Paula turns towards you and says, we will be finding some muscle, I think is the human word, to protect Miss Giovanni.
Yes, I believe that their aim right now is to cause as much chaos and disarray that we cannot organize to fight back. I don't think that they are necessarily after old targets. Not saying that you don't have to worry, because you always should. But I think this is a tactic to distract and to get rid of higher ups. So I heard another rumor that somebody else is in big trouble for betraying the prince.
She nods at that, and Vera signs the name Claudio at you. You don't need interpretation for that. We got the message. She holds up her phone. And you see the same message announcing open season on Claudio Ricci.
Yeah. I don't get those.
No, you don't. Because you are not part of the Camarilla. But she shows you the text, and then Vera kind of sighs and her shoulders slump. This is too complicated. I don't like it. It was peaceful here for a while.
I agree. And the biggest thing is we have to find a cure.
Yes. Do you know if any of my clan is sick?
Yes.
Oh, so far I think we are... She points between herself and Paula. We are okay, I think, but that is very discouraging to hear.
Your first sign is going to be dreams.
She looks absolutely horrified.
It's unpleasant.
Her eyes narrow a little bit. She tilts her head and looks at you. Are you dreaming, Alex?
If I tell you, it's just us.
She signs family at you, another sign that you don't need interpreted.
It started last night.
She nods and looks at Paula, and Paula gets up and leaves the room for a moment. And then she comes back with a small book. And Paula looks at Vera, and Vera nods, and Paula hands you the book. And she says, I am not the most versed in the blood magic, but perhaps you and your friends can find something here. I was not going to share this, but she signs family at you again. Just family only.
Thank you. The only other person that will have contact with this would be another clan member of yours, because he'll be able to do something, I hope.
She nods and stands up. I will let you know when I hear from grandmother. It may not be tonight, but certainly tomorrow night, if not tonight.
Okay. You can always text me or call, whichever you prefer. And I appreciate your time.
She smiles. Be careful.
Always.
And that is where we will leave tonight's session. Thank you all for joining us again on the dark streets, very dark tonight, of San Francisco. We hope you will all join us next time. Thank you and good night.